much for coming here. I really wanted to take you back to your growing up years and to being in such a fiercely feminine household. What were your early days like?
Thank you so much, Kaveri, and thank you for having me here in this wonderful session where such eminent people have spoken and will speak also. What I can remember of my childhood is that it was always a kind of charged atmosphere. And aside from the usual living habits of eating, sleeping, going to school, and other things, I do remember my mother's presence all over the house in the most undominating way, but she was there always. She would get up in the morning, and while I'm still sleeping, she would walk softly to the Krishna and Radha Vigraha, which was in puja, and she would slowly open the curtain, singing a song to awaken Krishna and offering him a glass of milk.
Wow.
And she would do it, for me, Krishna was like a sibling. He wasn't like some god sitting somewhere and watching over me. It wasn't like that.
Right.
So I think this kind of implicit inclusion of divine with the temporal sort of set the stage for a life which really didn't see much difference between the two. And you could always toggle between one and the other seamlessly.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is so lovely. And at that point, it must have been a very unconscious thing for you. But
Absolutely.
on reflection later, you must have realized what a gift it was.
Absolutely. I'm realizing that not everybody gets to have a childhood like that.
Exactly.
With time, one realizes the greatness of the gifts that you receive.
Right. The other aspect, Arunaji, as we were discussing earlier, the whole idea of the female guru, who's sort of become a sort of hidden figure of history, not been given enough prominence, not been actually visibilized. But in your case, you have, managed to do that, and you yourself are an embodiment of that. Talk a little about this idea of the female guru and the lineage you come from.
My guru, Srimati T. Brinda, is the 6th generation legacy inheritor of a line of women artists. And her great-great-great-grandmother, Papammal, was a court musician and dancer in the Tanjore court. So you see, every generation, these women were only serving music and dance. So my guru, strangely, was at the cusp of that sociological, socio-economical phenomenon where that system changed into women becoming non-Devadasis and becoming,
Right.
that
So she
system
was the
abolished. It was in her time that change happened.
Right.
So I, as a child of 10, and she was a woman of 60 at that time, but with all that, there was a bond between her and me, and which would manifest in her talking to me in the afternoons when she would plait my hair. She would apply oil at 4 o'clock and plait my hair, and then she would say things which I didn't understand then, but now I understood that it was a safe haven for her to express herself to like a grandchild. And she was an amazingly strong woman. I mean, the strength of this woman was so that when she entered a room full of the topmost musicians of the Carnatic firmament or from anywhere, all of them would stand up and give respect to her. That was the esteem with which she was held. So, but at the same time, so simple, so soft, and yet so firm and so contained. I mean, this was an amazing opportunity for me to be with first my mother and then this guru who was an epitome of what we call today as woman power.
Right. And a different kind of emancipation, right?
Yes.
She was very emancipated, obviously.
Absolutely.
But yet, very bound by tradition and upholding the tradition as well.
Absolutely.
So that's a very interesting, it has now become a contradiction, but it ought not to be.
Yes.
And it's actually the best way of living. So talk a little about that, which ought not to be a contradiction, but has become one.
May I ask you to rephrase that question?
Yeah, in the sense of how emancipated she was and yet upheld tradition.
Okay. So the emancipation came from the fact that she was her own person.
Yeah.
She was never afraid to experiment with what she thought was the right thing to do. Coming from the Dhanammal school, she went and did Gurukula Vasam with a male teacher, which was not heard of then. She lived with her guru and his wife, which never any of her family did. And she sang Ragam, Tanam, Pallavi and those difficult pieces, which none of her family ancestors did. So in her way, she was a trailblazer in terms of the choices she made musically and otherwise. And where she was traditional is that her faith, her rituals that she followed, her belief that she was sent to this earth to make music. That was the Lord's dictum to her. She was born to do this. You know, there she was very traditional.
Right.
So this was a contradiction which was so smoothly enshrined in her personality.
Right. And that's what you picked up. Do you remember some of the things she told you while she was plaiting your hair?
Yeah, sure. Sometimes she would sing.
Right.
And she would sing such ragas that she never sang in a concert.
Oh.
Those rare ragas like Hamsanandi or, you know, Pantuvarali, which she never sang in a concert, or a Shanmukha Priya, which she never sang in a concert.
Why is that?
She made her own, branding, I would say,
Right.
of certain ragas which she thought she was a master, and she
Right.
would always sing those ragas in her concert. But so I thought maybe she doesn't know how to sing these ragas, but actually the way she sang a Shanmukha Priya is what I still go back to when I sing Shanmukha Priya. That one time that she sang it.
Right.
It was so impressive.
You
the
still
way.
remember it?
I carry the essence of it. If you ask me phrase by phrase what she sang, I wouldn't be able to repeat. But what it meant to me, what impression it made on me, has stayed with me. And I'm sure that's what comes out when I sing.
Can I ask you to? A little bit of that?
You mean Shanmukha Priya?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah. May I switch on my electronic tanpura, if you don't mind?
Not at all.
Yeah, just a minute.
You carry it with you wherever you go.
Yeah, it comes as an app.
This is called tradition with modernity. Everything is in an app now, na? It's so cool to see you do this. And yet this raga is what, thousands of years old? Wow.
Yeah, Shanmukha Priya, for those who perhaps don't know, is the raga that has been carefully nurtured by our Nadaswara Vidwans in our temples for ever so many centuries. So it's like, if you mean Carnatic music, this is it. That kind of raga.
This is the core of
This is an essence of that Carnatic
Right.
flavor. So, the Arohanam, Avarohanam is Sarigama Padanisa Sanidapamagarisa. That's Arohi, Avarohi. na 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 na. Adum tataya dum 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 tataya dum tataya dum dum tataya dum num num tataya dum dum tataya dum 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 da num dum dum tataya num dum tataya dum danum danum dum dum danum 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 dum dum da num danum danum dum.
Wow, amazing. And I remember you saying somewhere that your mother told you there's no such thing as a mood. If someone tells you to sing, you sing.
Oh yes, that is a story that I must share.
Please tell us that story.
Yeah, so this was this 650 square foot little apartment in Bombay that we lived in, my father, mother, myself, and my brother. And so there was very little space, but bless them, their hearts were very big. So any musician that came to Bombay would eventually find their way into our home because of the friendship, the warmth, the good food. Otherwise, in those days, there weren't many hotels to
Right.
stay in. And one day came into our house the great musician Ramnad Krishnayar. And at the same time, I had just come back from school. And, I had this habit of asking my mother every now and then to make rava kesari for me. That was a sweet that I just loved. So that day I was in a mood. I was, decided to have the better of the both of us. I said, right now I want Amma you to make rava kesari for me. And Krishnayar is sitting in the front room.
How old were you?
I must have been in first standard or something. Very young, very young. And then she said, yeah, just a minute, but let's say hello to him. Come and say hello to him, do namaskaram. Then when I went there, he said, Aruna, chollu, chollu. And I used to sing. Kids, you teach them anything, they will sing. So he said, or paatu cholluma, or paatu chollu, he said. So I was in a militant mood. I said, no, enakku kesari taralena na paada maate. I said, okay. So my mother this went on, and then she had to take me inside. I was in a bad situation that day. I started rolling on the floor, and I said, without the kesari, I'm not singing. Okay, that day she couldn't do anything. Krishnayar, after some time, she gave him coffee, tiffin, he left. That evening, she sat me down when I was better, and she spoke to me, and she said, this music is a gift to you from Krishna. It's not you. It's not your thing. It's not your voice. It's not you singing. Remember, he is singing. Never again, never again are we going to say mood and this and that. No. This is a gift. You have to share it. That's it. And the way she told it to me that day, till today, when I go for a concert, I remember that, her face and the way she said it to me. That's why you take me anywhere, even if a small kid asks me to sing a song, I will sing. I will sing it for that child.
Wonderful. I wish we all had such a work ethic. But in your case, prayer and singing, is it one and the same thing? I wonder.
Well, if I may say so, prayer also for us, many of us in this part of the world, there's one thing to pray and say, yeah, we do that very often. Krishna or Narayana, I want this, give me that. Or at least give me happiness, give me peace of mind, give my children, whatever. But on the other hand, there are very many moments when you just want to be merged with him.
Right.
You just want to become him. And very often, that's what our elders keep telling us, pray, 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 but ultimately don't ask for too much. Just want to become him.
Right.
Become something purer, more beautiful from inside, right? So what I'm noticing in my thing, as the years are rolling by, is that music gives me the opportunity to become that,
Right.
to become something. So there is no prayer separate and music separate.
Right.
It's just a journey.
Right. So when you're doing your riyaz, you're actually praying.
Yeah, it's call it prayer, call it merging, call it forgetting yourself, forgetting time and space, or just being whatever it is. That's what happens.
And every morning, do you do this every morning? How many hours?
Every morning, well, the routine goes something like morning you get up, then, yeah, early morning. When I was a kid, early morning, every morning, 4 o'clock.
4.
4 o'clock. Uske, after that only you will get anything to drink hot. Uske pehle only water. But now, yes, get up, first meditate, do, I have a yoga teacher, so now she has taught me how to do things like yoga nidra or, those kind of small
I'm
things.
sure you can teach her a thing or two about breath. No one knows breath better than you.
Yeah, then I do a whole 1 hour of breath exercises.
Right.
Yoga, movement, slow movement, married with the breath. So that goes on for another day. Then there is some, so it takes about 2 or 3 hours to be ready to face the day.
Right.
Once you do that, you know that you'll be okay.
And no moods will happen with you.
No moods, no moods. That is all done and dusted. No moods.
Since we did talk about Krishna, I will have to ask you to sing the Tilana, which I don't know, I've just fallen in love with.
Oh, sure, sure.
It is, I think, the most beautiful piece of music I've heard in a long, long time. And your voice comes from somewhere so deep within that I think even you cannot tell where it's coming from. It's coming from maybe up there somewhere, right?
Absolutely.
And tell us a little about the Tilana.
Sure. So this Tilana is composed by Oothukade Venkata Subbayar. He predates the Carnatic Trinity. The Carnatic Trinity are Tyagaraja, Shama Shastri, and Dikshatar, as we know them. And this was before that time, 16th century. And he lived in this little village called Oothukade. There's a little temple there where that Krishna, the Utsava Murti, is a Kalinga Nartana Tilana who is dancing on the 5 heads of Kaliya.
Right.
And this composer obviously has been inspired by that Kalinga Nartanam Vigraha and that Murti, and then he has composed this Tilana. If you listen to it, you get that imagery of the playway manner in which Krishna plays as well as subjugates Kaliya,
Right.
and eventually persuades him to, see, according to the story, Krishna doesn't kill the Kaliya.
Yeah.
Kaliya says, Baba, chhod do, I am going away. I
mean,
will leave.
Who was as charming as Krishna?
Yes.
Nobody could be, right?
Yeah. So that is what is the story about.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why it's so powerful. There's something very seductive and very attractive about it, right?
Sure.
So when did you first hear it? And now it's really become your thing.
Yeah.
But when did you first hear it?
First, I heard it when, I told you all these great musicians
Yeah.
would come home, like M. S. Amma and Vrindama
Wow.
and all. So one of those great musicians was Nida Mangalam Krishnamurti Bhagavatar. He was a descendant of the Oothukade family. He would again come and stay in our house for 15 days, 20 days, and every day he would do Upanyasam at the local Matunga temple. And
You grew up in Matunga?
yeah, of
Wow.
course.
You're a Bombay girl.
Matunga is where South Indians of Bombay were those days.
Exactly.
So Matunga is the place. So there he would, at Bhajana Samaj, in fact, he would do this Tilana, and you know what? 2.5 hours, one whole evening, would be only Tilana.
Wow.
Line by line, he would sing it, and then he would give imagery and stories around each line of that Tilana. So that is when I first heard it. But like life has its own trajectory, I completely lost track of that Tilana. He hadn't taught me that Tilana. I had only heard it. Years later, when I was already performing and I was a struggler and trying to make my own space in the world of music, One day, miraculously, a gentleman came, handed me a cassette tape. My father was with me, my father-in-law was with me, and he said, "Can you please record this piece of music immediately? Go to some shop." Those were the cassette days.
Right.
Record it, but give me back this original. I can't part with it for long. So we immediately went, recorded, gave back the cassette, and that was done. Went home, played it. It was this Tilana.
What a story.
What a story.
What a story.
And then it took me a long time to learn, notate, go back to my impressions of it, make my own
Make your
interpretation.
own interpretation.
And then,
Right.
now I sing.
It's yours.
Yeah.
So if we could just have a little bit of that
Sure,
piece.
sure.
I won't make you sing too much.
No, I will just give you a jhalak
Yeah.
of it, okay? Tam tim tarannatam dinatakina tam tim tarannatam dinatakina tam tim tarannatam tam tim tarannatam dittagita drigita tadiginatam tam tim tarannatam yamuna tadaga bangeruga bhavatam tim tarannatam yamuna tadaga bangeruga bhavata kita sara sadanayanayaka sayaka mudrita jaya jaya tam tim tarannatam Tamitajam, takatajam, takatikajam, tam, tamitajam, takatajam, takatikajam, tam, tamitajam, takatajam, takatikajam, ta, Neela Manohara Jala Vibhushana Nirata Jalandhara Bhujanga Nartana, Neeraja Tadaga Adiga Mridula Pada Nikata Tarango, Tunga Tadanga Nirtaka Tam, Takatai, Takatadi Midiyata Takata, Kitataga Jagadigirjaganandam, Tagajagadaga Yamuna Tadaga Tunga Tarangam, Imagarasminita Ramita Shubhangam, Itas Tatastara Karuna Pangam, Yadivara Hridaya Saroru Bringam, Denatadillana, Dirkutakitadillana, Alaka Sindura, Alaka Sungara, Vadana Gambira, Uragapana Sanchara, Nanda Sukumara Navanita Dadichora, Chandamanigara Jalabavadinutadira, Nanda Sukumara Navanita Dadichora. So Chandamanigara Jalabavadinutadira. And then it goes on and on like that. Thank you.
You know, there's so much joy and divinity in your voice, but there must have been so many trials and so much pain in your life as well, as everyone has. How do you overcome that? And how do you keep the joy alive? How do you keep the curiosity alive? How do you keep your core happy?
I would say that, firstly, as I said, music itself offers a great opportunity very often to forget yourself. So that helps. But yes, the painful parts of life do have a habit of doing action replay in your mind.
Yeah.
So you go through a pain once, but you replay it ever so many times in your mind. That is how most of us have been wired, or we think it's normal to be like that. But with time, I realized, and there I must say the family helps. Like my husband Sai is, I mean, if I could be as evolved as he is, my life would be made. You know, that is
Wonderful.
how he is.
I think we should, we should clap for him. Great, sir.
So, you know, slowly I'm learning, and I also have a guru who teaches me Bhagavad Gita every day.
Oh.
Every day we do a session over the virtual medium.
Right.
And so the point is to try to erase all those recordings of the past memories. Try to not go into the thoughts ke kal kya hoga, parso kya hoga. Oh my God. It's not easy. It comes, there are moments when you lose it, but Every morning, if you say, no, today I'm not going to do that replay, action replay thing. Every morning you have to work at it.
Yeah.
And I have to, that's why I told you it takes me 2 to 3 hours to begin to face the day. Because yes, we've all had more than our fair share, and I must say, Sai and I have had more than our fair share, what we think should have been. But that is divine design.
Yeah.
What can you do about
What
it?
can you
But
do?
you can't become a pain to those who are around you now.
Right.
You can't do that. You can't transmit that sorrow through your music to your audience. No, they are coming with their own baggage. They are spending enormous amount of time and money to be there in that auditorium when you're singing. Why? Because they're looking for joy.
Yeah.
So it's not fair. You don't have a right to do that. These things slowly you learn and you sort of.
And you're always learning. You're
Yeah.
always
Well,
trying to become better.
Yeah,
no?
it's work in progress
Yeah.
all the time.
Absolutely. So I think just the last couple of questions, the amazing collaborations that you've done as well, whether it's Coke Studio or whether in London, I think.
Yes.
I mean, how does that happen? They reach out to you, you have an idea. There's so much of fun that you're having with all that as well. And you get a whole new audience as well, I assume.
Yeah, that I think comes from, again, back from the childhood, because you see, when you grow up in Bombay,
Right.
you come to learn that life is a many splendor. Not that you don't do it in Chennai or any other place, but Bombay is special because it's a complete masala of too many things. And so like I was in the Western music choir of my school. Then I used to
Which
go.
school was it?
I was in JB Vatsha
Okay.
at Pasi Colony.
Right.
And then I used to be crazy enough, like if the Ramas did a Govinda Alare dance, I would go and dance with them. I just love the street music. So when you are open to every kind of music,
Right.
without saying, this is classical and this is Hindustani and this is, no. You learn to give all that up. Then I noticed that when you are open, people of themselves, they come to you. They
Right.
know, they feel the openness.
Right.
And they say, come on, let's do something together. And then it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
So even now, whatever music you do or you start, who's the person you remember? Your mother? Your guru?
Definitely,
Your
definitely. The first
The voice in your
impression
head?
comes from my mother. But yes, my guru. And I must also here tell you that for me, MS Amma is an icon.
Mother? Right.
For me, beyond all this, she's somewhere always there in my consciousness, because I think she really, when she sang and you came out of that concert hall, you never remembered this was Kambodi, this was Danyashi, or she sang this. No, you just floated out of that concert hall thinking you just went to heaven and came back. You never worried about the details of what she did. And I always feel that should be a good musical experience.
Right.
So I always aspire to.
I think you deliver the same. May I ask you to end by perhaps a tribute to her, perhaps a song
Sure.
from her that you'd like to sing?
Sure.
Yeah.
Or should I, because as we were chatting just
Yeah.
before this, you said you loved the Aigiri
Aigiri
Nandini. So
I
can
would love that.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
that would be, I think, amazing, and I think it'll charge us for the rest of the year. For me, certainly.
So I would like to, you all know that, chanting and saying shlokas is a part of our
Yeah.
culture, here. Every morning when we were children, our parents always taught us to chant something. So I'll do a little bit of a chanting from Lalita Sahasranama and then seamlessly move into Aigiri and close.
Wonderful.
Mm. Thank you. Mm. सिन्धूरारुणविग्रहां त्रिनयनं माणिक्यमौलिस्फुरत्तारानायकशेखरम् स्मितमुखीमापीनवक्षोरुहाम् पाणिभ्याम् अळिपूर्णरत्नचषकं रक्तोत्पलं बिभ्रतीं सौम्यां रत्नघटस्थरक्तचरणां ध्यायेत् परामम्बिकाम् श्रीमाता श्रीमहाराज्ञै श्रीमत्सिंहासनेश्वरी चिदग्निगुण्डसम्भूता देवकार्यसमुद्युता उद्यद्भानुसहस्राभा रागस्वरूपपाषाढ्या क्रोधाकाराङ्कुशोज्ज्वला मनोरूपेक्षुकोदण्डा पञ्चतन्मात्रसायका ॐ इच्छाशक्ति ज्ञानशक्ति क्रियाशक्ति स्वरूपिणी ॐ मयि गिरिनन्दिनि नन्दितमेदिनि विश्वविनोदिनि नन्दिनुते गिरिवरविन्द्यशिरोधिनि वासिनि विष्णुविलासिनि जिष्णुनुते भगवति हे क्षितिकण्ठकुटुम्बिनि भूरिकुटुम्बिनि भूतिकृते जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि रम्यकपर्दिनि शैलसुते जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि रम्यकपर्दिनि शैलसुते ॐ
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think this calls for a standing ovation. I'm certainly standing.